So with all that being said, let me ask you this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst ever and 10 being the best possible, how would you personally rate your childhood?
Like a 5.
5, okay, okay.
3, 4, 5.
What circumstances would have had to have happened for you to say like 6 or 7?
I think if my mom never started getting high, if I didn't feel like an adult at a young age,
Okay,
like me ironing clothes, cooking and cleaning, that's a lot for a kid.
right.
I think if I had my mom at least to push me, like me, my oldest son, he was very high school, he was an athlete, on the roll. I stayed on his butt.
Okay,
And I wish my mom would have been like that with me. Like, oh, I'm going to congratulate you, but you're not going to fall off because you're doing this.
right.
Because he did that. He got a little cocky, and I used to have to put him back in his place. But I just wish my mom would have. I'm glad you got the honor roll. Good job. Keep doing. We all need that, especially as a child. Like, you want your moms to congratulate you. My grandfather did. Yeah, my grandfather did. My grandparents did. But it was different because it wasn't my mom.
Got it. Now, a lot of times, I don't want to say a lot of times, sometimes when parents are doing something like getting into drugs, they shield it from their kids. Did you physically see your mom?
One time, I think I was 11 or 12.
Okay.
Me and my brothers, my mom didn't want us to come in the house, and me and one of my brothers were sitting on the steps. And the screen doors, it had a little crack in it.
Okay.
So we what is she done? And that's the first time I seen my mom getting high. I knew she was getting high from the people that she was dealing with, but that's my first time.
Okay. So you did see it. You and your brother saw it. So you guys officially knew.
Yeah.
Right. How do you feel like, you might have already answered this question, but how do you feel like that, looking back now as an adult, just seeing that affected you?
Do I feel like it did affect me?
How do you feel like it affected you?
It affected me because I don't know. I couldn't understand a lot of things. I had a lot of resentment against my mom. I kind of hated her. I loved her, but I also had hate in my heart for her.
Okay.
And I'm like, why did you get on drugs? I know things weren't going good with you and my dad, but you don't turn to drugs for that. But I guess that's the way she could have dealt with it.
Got it. Do you have a worst childhood day or time period that you would like to forever forget?
Yeah. There was one time my mom woke me up and she asked me to clean these cabinets. It's like 11 o'clock at night. I'm running around all day, playing. I'm tired. And I don't know, every time I walked past her, she kept smacking me. And that's when I started building up all this hate. And she just made me clean all these dishes, then put them on the table, dry them, and put them in the cabinet one by one. I remember that day. And
Okay.
I felt like all this hatred.
Got it. Let's flip it. Do you have a favorite childhood day that, if you could, you would go back to?
I remember me and my family going to the movies and going to see Malcolm X, I'm sorry. It was Malcolm X, or was it? I think it was Beetlejuice. Yeah, Beetlejuice.
Okay. So why was that significant for you?
Because it was like a family event, and I think that was the last time all our family was together.
Okay. Oh, so it was you, your mom, your dad?
And my little sister was born. She was a baby.
Okay.
And my twin brothers.
You guys all went to go see Beetlejuice movie. That was the last time you guys were all together. If you could go back to that.
Yeah, you feel good to be with. It wasn't no arguing. It wasn't no fighting.
Right.
Which
is an overall great day.
Yes.
Got you. Were there any events that occurred in your childhood, anything that happened that you feel like affected your life forever, besides what you already mentioned, like either negatively or positively?
Yeah. I mean, I had a lot of anger issues. And like I said, I had to go to counseling and stuff. Trust. It's hard for me to trust people.
Okay.
I don't like to be around certain people. I don't know. People just think I'm quiet. I have people that literally don't like me because I'm quiet. If I don't know you, I'm not gonna. I'm now that I'm older and I'm a nurse, I have to go and talk to people. But growing up, I've always been quiet. And if I didn't feel people energy, like if it didn't feel good to me, I'll speak. But I'm not gonna sit and have a conversation with you. And I don't know. It's just like I just feel. Sometimes I feel funny around people. I feel weird, and I'm overall I'm just a quiet person. But I think that kind of affect me, like just things I've been through.
Okay.
And then if I see somebody like getting high,
Right.
It makes me feel a certain type of way because I know how it changed my mom.
Right. You start having repressed feelings because like all the stuff that you kind of packed away.
Because you have this loving, sweet mom, and now she's getting high. She's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, like a whole different person.
Right.
So it's like you have to get to know another person. And, that's not the person that raised you and loved you. And,
You also mentioned something to me that happened in 2003.
Yeah, my youngest at the time, Jihad, he passed away.
Sorry to hear that. You care to go back into that?
Yeah, I remember that day.
What happened?
That day I remember.
First of all, how old was he?
He was 1.
He was 1. So
Yes.
you had a 1-year-old son in 03. Okay.
No, yes, he was 1 and Kenny was 6.
Okay.
And I remember that day I called out of work because I was sick.
Okay.
And
Pregnant
then
again?
No, I just was sick. I had
I'm messing with you.
No, I had like a cold or something.
Okay.
So I was feeling bad, and I was like, you know what? I'm on vacation. Like this is my last day. I'm going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I called my supervisor. I was like, I'm gonna come in. She was like, no, you're not. You sound like crap. You need to stay home. I was like, no, I'm on vacation. She was like, you know what? Whatever. She said, I'm gonna let you come in. She said, but if I see you dragging, I'm sending you home. So I said, okay. So after that, I'm gonna say like around 11 o'clock, I started getting all these weird phone calls from different phone numbers. And I went to lunch and I was telling this guy, I said, it used to be a group of us sit and eat lunch together. And I was telling one of the guys, I said, yo, this weird number keep calling me. He was like, answer the phone.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know. So I answered, and that's when they asked to speak to me. Of course, can I speak to DaBriah? I'm like, DaBriah.
They called you DaBriah?
Yeah. I said, who's calling? She said, this is Our Lady of Lourdes of Burlington. I'm like, I was living in Willingboro, New Jersey at the time.
Okay. How far is that from Camden?
30 minutes.
Okay.
So she asked to speak to me, and I'm like, she said, this is Our Lady of Lourdes of Burlington. Something like that. And I'm like, okay. And she was like, we need you to come to the hospital. I said, for what? She said, your son been in an accident. I'm like, my son been in an accident? Which one? She said, the baby. I said, well, what accident he was in that his brother wasn't in? It was Easter vacation. I'm like, they're together.
Right.
She was like, oh, I just need you to come up here. And she hung up on me.
Really?
And I'm looking at my phone. So, the people I'm eating with, they're like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know, the lady. I told them the conversation. And I'm like, literally just start shaking.
Okay.
So, one of the guys, like, he ran. I didn't know, but he was telling Dylan, like, something wrong with, they call me Day now. And they like, something wrong with Day, son, I'm going to take her to the hospital. And she like, you got to come right back. He said, I'm coming back. He said, but she need to go to the hospital. She can't drive. So I'm still like shaking, and then I called my mom. I remember calling my mom. I was trying to call my house. I was trying to call the guy I was with at the time. Back in the day, cell phones, you can press 1. And I could not think. I wound up calling our house, and I listened to the answer machine, and I heard the lady screaming and hollering, saying my son, he fell. And he
the lady from the hospital?
No, the lady from the daycare.
Oh, okay, so they were in daycare.
She was calling. She had an in-house daycare. She was calling like something happened to Jihad. He fell off the potty. He just not waking up. But she said he was sitting there clapping, then he just like felt like that.
Okay.
And I'm like, what? And then she's like, I picked him up. He's pooping. When she said that, me at the time I wasn't seeing that. And when she said that, I said, my son passed. I felt it because I know when a person expires, they pass their last bowels.
Really?
They pass everything in the body, yes. So I'm shaking, I'm crying. They never said nothing to my mom. My mom called me back and was like, I'll be up there. So then the hospital called me back. They said, it's a guy, they described he's coming to pick you up. And a guy came and picked me up because my coworker was like, you sure? Like, I'll take you to the hospital. You gonna be okay with him? He was like, like, please let us know what's going on. Take me to the hospital, and I'm asking the guy what's going on. He said, I don't know. He said, they just told me to come pick you up. So I see my father-in-law sitting there waiting for me. He was outside. And I looked at him, and he just had this look on his face. I pushed him out my way. And I love him to death, still to this day. I pushed him out the way, and then I seen my son Dad. He just sitting there, eyes bloodshot red. And he said, my baby going. I'm like, what? It's like Jihad going, and he's crying. And then his grandma's crying. And then I'm like, what is going on? And that's when they told me, they was like, your son passed away. And I'm like, where's my other son? Like, like I got all these questions, like how he passed away. Like, he was just fine. He was crying that morning because I went to work. And then I was like, we're going to go get some ice cream later. He said, okay. Because he was like, no, like he was crying that day. And I always think, what if I would have stayed home and he passed away? So I always think that was God that told me to go to work. Because people know me, once I'm sick, I'm staying home. I'm not working nowhere.
So wait, what happened?
Well, a year late, first of all, afterwards, they had me on DIFUS. This man, one time I was sitting in the kitchen.
What's DIFUS?
DIFUS is, protective service for kids.
Okay, like CPS or,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Afterwards,
Yeah,
when this
this is
happened,
afterwards.
the caseworkers came.
Yeah.
The hospital has to report it.
yes.
Right, okay, got it.
So I remember in the kitchen, I was washing dishes in,
This is a year later.
No, this is like 3 weeks later.
3 weeks later, okay.
So I'm still mourning. I'm still not going to work.
The funeral has happened.
The funeral happened. My son Dad, he was going to work because he worked. He was CPA during the day, and then night he had a part-time job.
Okay.
So he was going to work. I finished cooking dinner, but I'm sitting in the kitchen, and our block, we know everybody on the block, and
Right.
I'm sitting there looking at this car, and I'm like, who is that car? The guy that lived across the street from us, I know he had a fiance, and I know he traveled. So I'm like, his job, required him to travel. So I'm sitting there like, that's not him or her. I'm like, sitting there looking. And then my son Dad, and I'm telling him, like, who that car? He was like, oh, I don't know. He said, maybe somebody looking at the houses. I'm like, all these houses is filled. But he was like, oh, I don't know. So after that, the guy comes and knocks on my door when my son Dad leaves.
Okay.
I see him coming towards the house. I'm like, what the hell going on? I call him like, yo, this dude coming to the door. He's sitting here. He was a caseworker. He's like, are you such and such? You DaBriah? We need to know what happened to your son. Do you have, like, he was attacking me. My son Dad on the phone, I'm going off. He come back, cursed the guy out, and the guy had to leave.
Okay.
But they sent another caseworker, and they found out, like, a year and a half later, said it was a form of cardiomyopathy, which is a hardening around your heart.
Now say that again. Cardiomyopathy.
Cardiomyopathy.
And what is it?
It's like a hardening around your heart. It's like when your heart start getting hard.
Okay.
They said he had it. I don't believe that. Because over the time I would call, like, do y'all have any results, like, how he passed? He was a healthy kid. He was a chunky kid. Like,
So the hospital, first of all, when it happened, the hospital couldn't tell you guys what happened?
They say he was literally sitting on a potty clapping, and he just told it over.
Okay.
And they say his heart stopped.
So do they have to ask the parents' permission to do an autopsy?
They didn't ask me no permission. I think they are now.
Okay.
But they just, oh, his brain's in Arizona. Oh, his thing is getting examined here. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah.
Wow. That is a lot to go through.
Yeah.
And
then I have a 6-year-old that don't understand what happened.
right.
Because I remember we was going to view my son's body. And then he said, Kenny said, Mommy, are you getting Jihad? Can we play baseball when you come back? And I just start crying. He thought he was in the hospital. Yeah, so.
Yeah. I can imagine how that has affected you. But the aftermath of that, what did that do to you?
I don't know. We wound up breaking up like a year later.
Okay. So that was the beginning of the end of your relationship with him. That's it.
We got back together, but it wasn't the same.
Right.
I prayed on it, and God was showing me proof. I'm like, deuces. But it was hard. It was hard to get over, and you start being a little overprotective over your kid you have. I didn't understand. I questioned myself, like, well, what did I do? What can I have done? And I'm like, I try to do the best by my kids while I lose my child, So it was hard.
With that being said, what is the overall perception? Like, who is the person, all these experiences that you just told us, who is the person that you became? Like, who is the DaBriah of today?
Now,
Like, would you feel that all these things that happened, like, molded you into the person you are today? Who are you? What do you do? And how did all these things drive you?
I'm sorry, I feel like my lips dry. Now I'm strong. I became stronger minded. I'm very focused. You know, I went back to school. And
You went back to school for what?
a nurse. And this is after my oldest son passed away. I went back to school.
Okay.
But now I just think I'm stronger minded. I'm still very loving. I'm still very giving. But I'm just stronger minded. I'm aware of things. I don't take people for granted. You know, I appreciate people more.
Okay.
I appreciate my loved ones more. And definitely appreciate my child.
Got it. So, with all these things that you said and everything that you know today, I want you to give some advice to blank-year-old DaBriah. If you could talk to a younger version of yourself, what age would she be and what would you say to her?
14.
14-year-old DaBriah. Okay? Go. What would you say to
I
her?
would tell her, don't look at that nappy head little boy. It's like, nah. I would tell her, like, stay focused on your dreams. Don't let nobody discourage you. It's going to be people out there that tell you can't do it. Ignore them and just keep going and be the best you can be. You're going to go through ups and downs, but just stay strong and keep going.
Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you.